Welcome back to the Snake Eater Company, guys. I am Jesse, aka Snake Eater, and if you are like me, you have always wanted to live out your fantasy of being Maverick in Top Gun. We got most of the way there in the recently released DCS World module for the F-14 Tomcat. There was always something missing.
Still close for missiles, Goose. I'm switching to guns.
Well, now the fantasy is complete because VIRPIL just started shipping the VFX grip. This thing packs a ton of features into a very compact package. As always, you guys can get all the stats and info of the specs from many places on the internet, so we're not going to spend a ton of time on that. We're generally going to dive right into reviewing the features. So let's get into it. This thing goes for 160 euros, which in the US is $180. Like all of the other grips VIRPIL makes, it is compatible with all of their bases, of course, and with the Thrustmaster base. This grip is easily the most comfortable one I've used so far. It has a real comfortable full back strap here to fill out the palm of your hand, and it has a nice generous area for your thumb to rest on. All the buttons are spaced out really well, so you're not going to get any accidental presses when you're really squeezing it and yanking and banking. I'd call it a medium-sized grip. It is comfortable for large hands like mine, but I still think it's gonna fit very well with smaller hands. I think it's a very good all-around size. Even without a base attached, it actually has some weight to it, some heft. I assume because of the all-metal twist built into it, but also probably because of all the extra switches and buttons built into it, and it does feel like the molded plastic is a very thick, solid feeling plastic. The trigger has two stages. The activation is at about 95% and 100% respectively. The response is okay. It's clicky. It's not bad. It is a little bit of a plasticky feel when compared to the Godfather, the reigning trigger champion of the joystick world, the Thrustmaster Warthog, which is an all-metal construction, including the trigger, and just feels really solid, like there is zero play in it. In this case, there's a little bit of shimmy back and forth, and the feel just is more of a plasticky trigger. The top hat is an 8-way top hat, and it also has a press. It's very clicky and satisfying all the way around. The thumb and pinky momentary switches have a bit of a mushy feeling response and a fair amount of travel and springy feedback to them. And there's noticeable play in the button back and forth within the socket, giving it sort of a toyish feel as well. I really wish they'd used the momentary switches that they put on the CM2 grip and the CM grip before it. These momentary switches are really clicky and have almost no travel, giving them an instant response. You press it and it happens instantly, whereas with a long travel you have to press, and then it activates. All the buttons are like that, even if the caps are not quite the same. This is a bigger, flatter key, but it is still instantaneous and clicky. Similar to the top, these are all very fast activation. There's a side momentary button right here, which is almost like a protected switch. Acts similar to a button that has a flippable cap over it or rails along the side to make it a little bit more difficult to press. In this case, I call it a protected button because when you're holding the grip, you can't get to it without changing your grip. So you're not going to accidentally activate it when you're wrenching around on this thing. You really have to change your grip and bring your thumb down to press it. I think it's an interesting choice. I also kind of was thinking Because of the way this is constructed, there's a couple of screws here. I was thinking maybe this could be modular. I'm sure this has something to do with the addition of this thumb wheel, which we'll get to, but it would be a cool idea to be able to swap this out for any number of other things, like a easier to reach thumb button if you wanted to do that, or a thumb stick, or who knows what kind of crazy stuff you could put in there. Okay, now we're gonna start getting into the features that really make this thing unique from other grips. The thumb wheel is a spring-loaded, return-to-center bidirectional wheel. It works perfectly for elevation in DCS World. I've found it fits really well into Star Citizen's velocity limiter function because I can pull up the velocity limiter when I need to really get going, but let go of the wheel, boom, my velocity limiter goes right back to normal, back to center. Other possible uses for this could be momentary zoom in, zoom out. You could probably use this for something like straight forward or backward in a space flight sim. All right, the brake lever is a feature that VIRPIL loves adding to their grips, and I love it because it gives you an additional axis that you can program. Even if you don't need it for braking, it gives you that fine-tuned control over some other function that you otherwise wouldn't have. For example, in Star Citizen, there's a mining ship, and the laser requires continuous adjustment up and down, and if you don't constantly jockey it back and forth, you'll blow up the rock or not mine the rock at all. This lever would give you the ability to finally adjust the strength to whatever it needs to be, and then when you're done, you just let go. These levers don't hinder any other function. You don't know they're there unless you want to use it. So I love that they add brake levers to every grip that they make. The last switch is the marquee feature on this grip. I call it the switching to guns switch. It is this guy right here. It is what makes the Top Gun aesthetic so famous.
Close for missiles, Goose. I'm switching to guns.
And it really needs to be good. I was worried about it a little bit when they announced it. Of course, excited about it, but knew that if they didn't execute this well, it wouldn't be satisfying to use, and you can easily bind another button on your keyboard or another key on a throttle or a stick to weapon select and never even touch this switch. So it really needed to feel good for it to be usable. I am happy to report that it is extremely satisfying to use. There's a perfect amount of resistance between each detent. It drops satisfyingly into place in each weapon slot. There is a gated off position that you have to press and move through to get to. If you don't need this to directly simulate an F-14 Tomcat, you can instead use this switch as a mode switch selector, allowing you to quickly switch between 4 different button profiles, quadrupling the number of button combinations that you can program into this compact grip. In Star Citizen, having the ability to quickly switch between 4 different profiles, say dogfighting, large ship flying, mining, and turret ops, would be extremely useful. And visually, the switch just gives it its signature look. If all of those features and buttons weren't enough to top it all off, this thing's got twist built in. It's an all-metal twist mechanism. It can be locked off with this Allen wrench socket right here. And I use the heaviest springs with 100mm extensions and deep centering cams in my MT50 CM2 base, and I never had any kind of unwanted play, twist, shimmy once I'd locked it off the entire time I used it. Okay, final thoughts time. If I had to ask for more from this grip, it would be that the trigger was a little more solid, made out of metal. You guys know I think the trigger is the most important button on the stick, likely to be the one that you press the most out of all the rest of the buttons. And I really wish that manufacturers across the board would make them much, much stronger with much tighter tolerances. The other buttons I wish that they would improve upon, and I think is an easy fix, are the momentary buttons. They have long travel, squishy springs, not very clicky, satisfying response, and a little bit of wiggle and shimmy in the socket. And they could just easily replace them with the momentary buttons that they put on the Mongoose MT50 grips. So hopefully they'll make that adjustment down the road. But the sheer amount of features they've crammed into this and the very high build quality make this an outstanding option for us. The ergonomics feels so good. Add all these practical features to its Top Gun heritage, its Maverick DNA, if you will, and I'm in love. Hey, thank you for watching, you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. If you want to help the channel out even more, hit the subscribe button. It's free and it helps a ton. If you're interested in gaming live with us, go check out the live stream over on Twitch. We're out there almost every night of the week. If you guys happen to like this operator cap and Snake Eater patch, you can buy them. I'll leave the link in the description below. You can buy the cap and the patch together, or you can just buy the patch by itself for a backpack or whatever. If you guys are interested in dabbling in Star Citizen some, you're looking to pick up a package, don't forget to use a referral code. I would love it if you use mine. That's in the description below as well. Have an awesome one, you guys. We will see you for the next video. Peace.